In this video, you're going to learn how to arrange for counselor and teacher recommendations to be written for you as part of the four-year college application process. If you are a two-year college applicant, you will not require counselor or teacher recommendations, so please disregard this video. When it comes to counselor recommendations, first of all, you don't need to ask your counselor to write a letter of recommendation for you. Your counselor does it automatically. Every application package that goes out to colleges has a counselor letter of recommendation included with it. In order to get your counselor to write the letter, however, you must complete the counselor recommendation information form in Naviance, and we will explain how to do that shortly. The counselor recommendation tends to be sort of a broader, more global recommendation in nature compared to the teacher recommendation. It really presents the whole person that you are, not just your academic abilities in a certain classroom or even in all your classes. We will include many other attributes as well: personal character, how you are perceived in the building among teachers and students, extracurricular activities, part-time jobs, clubs, sports, etc. Teacher recommendations are usually much more specific. They will address your classroom and subject performance. They may also include other information about you, and sometimes teachers may ask you to fill out an information form for them as well. That is on a case-by-case basis, but you must personally ask your teachers to write. They do not do it automatically, so you must choose a couple of teachers that you'd like to write letters for you. More about that in a minute. And then after you've asked them and they've agreed, you must invite them through your Naviance account, as that is how those letters will be processed and ultimately sent to colleges. Now, as far as identifying where your counselor recommendation form is in Naviance, first of all, a little bit more about the form. It helps your counselor to write the most complete and thorough recommendation possible. We've grown to know you over a few years. We know you pretty well at times, but any little bit of help we can get about all the things going on in your life can really be beneficial in terms of helping us flesh out a really good letter of recommendation. Like I said, not only includes academics, but extracurricular activities, sports, part-time jobs, positions of leadership, volunteer work, community involvement, church activities, character, etc. It does need to be completed as soon as possible. And this recording is done in mid-September. We really like these things done by October. Counselors and teachers need at least 2 weeks prior to any, not to any, but to your first application deadline to write your letter of recommendation. And don't forget that counselors and teachers will have multiple letters to write. So if we're going to wait to the last minute and expect a counselor or a teacher to write a letter of recommendation for you when you have a college application deadline in a couple of days, that's not going to happen. So this process needs to be done quickly. You should be on top of it immediately. Again, that form is accessed in Naviance. So how do you do that? Well, first you need to access Naviance. These are directions on how to log into Naviance if you've forgotten. If these directions for some reason don't work, or you don't understand them, you can see the Naviance login video that we've produced. It's a quick video on how to log into Naviance, and it's located the school counseling webpage, same place you found this video. And if you'd like, you can pause the video now and log into Naviance and then continue when you're ready. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to actually go into Naviance and see what that looks like. There you go. Once you log into Naviance, you should be looking at a page that looks like this. It's your senior page. It's your home page. And you'll get pretty familiar with this as the college application and admission seasons progresses. So what we're going to end up doing right now is we're going to access that counselor recommendation information form. And first thing you want to do is you want to go up to here to About Me. Okay, under About Me, you want to go down to Surveys from your school. Click on that. And then you want to search for your counselor recommendation information form. That's right here. This is what it looks like. It says here, note, please save your answers often. If you need longer than 1 hour to complete this form, you'll be logged out of the survey after 1 hour if you do not change the page, and you'll lose your information. So please be cognizant of that. And you'll notice that the form is actually kind of long. It asks a bunch of questions. It's not easy to get through in 10 or 15 minutes. So make sure you're setting aside some time to do this. You want to be as thorough as you can without going overboard. Remember that your counselor is writing a letter, not a novel. And of course, how you would save it as you go would be down here at the bottom here, save and come back. Once you've completed, you want to hit save and finish. And then please remember to email your counselor to let them know this form is done so they can begin work on your letter of recommendation. Okay, let's go back to our presentation. Now, as far as teacher recommendations go, we've got the counselor one covered. Well, who should you ask to write for you? And I would ask you to consider the 3 R's when doing this process: relationship, relevance, and recent. Relationship is pretty obvious. Do you have a good relationship with that teacher? Do you feel like they, have positive things to say about you? You'll be aware of that. I don't think many of you have poor relationships, so this shouldn't be a big deal. Your relevance is important. And when I speak of relevance here, I mean to your major. If you're going to be an engineer in college, that's what you're going to be majoring in. You're probably going to want high-level math and physics, sciences, things like that. If you're going to be, an English teacher, you definitely want an English thing, and maybe a social studies or something like that. It really all depends on what your major is. But just remember that English is always relevant. I would include at least one English teacher recommendation no matter what, and then go from there. Recent would be the other one. Hopefully your junior year, possibly your sophomore year. Freshman year, I don't think so, but if you have a good reason, maybe. Just remember you're barely out of junior high school then, and now you're ready to step into the adult world. Colleges generally looking for something more recent. Some of the higher level courses would be appropriate. Now, what about your senior year teacher? You may have a great course that you'd like to have your senior year teacher write. There's only one problem with that. If you've never had that teacher before, they're really not in a position to evaluate you until they've had at least one full semester with you in their class. And chances are you will have applied to all of your colleges by the end of the first semester. So there's a problem there. Teachers really shouldn't ethically be writing letters of recommendation for students until they've seen at least one semester's worth of work. The only way around that would be if you've had that teacher before. If you've had the teacher before and they're also teaching a senior year course, then feel free to ask them to write. How many should you ask? Well, I say 2 should be enough, maybe 3. Because I like to start with at least in English, and then, for your engineer types, get a math and a science, hopefully calculus and physics, that type of thing. But at least 2. Most colleges will accept only 1 to 2, maybe 3 letters. So you don't want to go overboard. However, you can ask coaches, a pastor, a manager, these types of things, people who can evaluate your work ethic, character, how you perform in certain things. It's all okay. It's just that you don't want to overdo it because you don't run into many situations where colleges will accept that many letters anyway. Always ask that person in person first, if at all possible. If it's, say, a teacher that's moved on from Sanford High School and you have no way to ask in person, an email would do. And also remember to tell that person to email the letter directly to your school counselor. So again, what if the teacher does not work here anymore? Try an email address, have them email it directly to your school counselor. When should you be asking teachers to write for you? Now. Okay, now, absolutely. You want to get your request in very quickly. Teachers really start getting a lot of requests and it starts building up, and they're not easy to write. They're not short, so it takes some time. So you want to get your request in now to make sure that they can write for you before your first deadline. All right, now inviting teachers in Naviance. Let's once again go back to Naviance to show how this process would work. We're going to get out of that information form. There we are back on your Naviance homepage. All right, so the first thing you'll want to do, once you've asked your teachers to write and they've agreed, you want to come into Naviance and invite them officially. You want to log into Naviance, obviously, and go up to colleges. And under apply to colleges, you want to go to letters of recommendation. And then you want to add a request. When you add the request, a little drop-down box appears here with all the teachers' names. You choose a teacher, you know, let's say Mr. Clark. And then what you want to do is select all. I've preloaded some colleges in here just to show you what it would look like. And you want to select all to make sure that when Mr. Clark writes, that letter is eligible to go to every college you apply to. Okay. And then down on the bottom here, there's the last dialog box here. And really, this is for a personal note to your teacher. Two things absolutely needed to be included here. Number one, a thank you. Anytime a teacher writes a letter of recommendation, they're going above and beyond for you. That's a courtesy, and they should be thanked for that. And then number two would be your earliest application deadline. If you don't know what it is yet, when you ask, then make one up. Say November 1st, because those are generally the very earliest deadline you're going to encounter. That way the teacher can then be aware of when it needs to happen. And if they have multiple letters to write, they can then manage their process. So maybe yours would come before another one, depending on how they manage their process. Okay, so a thank you and your earliest application deadline. Then you come down here, hit submit request, and then you do it again for the other teachers. Again, for teachers outside of Sanford High School, you can't do this process. You just need to ask them and have them mail the letter directly to your school counselor. And once you've submitted the requests and you're all done with this process, you're done with the process. From there on out, your counselor will manage that process and ensure that the letter goes out as part of your application materials prior to your application deadline. Okay. Let's go back to our presentation. So again, once you've completed that process, you're done. You can get on with the rest of your admissions activities, and there are many. And a reminder that you want to begin this process for both your counselor and your teacher recommendations just as soon as possible. We are now in the admission season. The application time clock is ticking, so you need to be getting this stuff done quickly. Any questions about this, please see your school counselor. Thank you.